when I moved into the quiet neighborhood of Maple Grove. I thought I'd finally found peace. My house sat on a corner lot with a little garden and, yes, a freshly installed mailbox, a solid black steel one I was proud of. It cost nearly $400, but it was worth it. I didn't expect that a mailbox would become the centerpiece of a neighborhood war. Enter Karen, the self-appointed enforcer of the Homeowners Association. She wasn't technically on the board, but you'd never know that from how she strutted around, clipboard in hand, dictating rules no one had voted for. She lived 2 houses down and somehow decided my new mailbox violated community aesthetics. The HOA guidelines didn't specify any color or shape, just that it had to be professionally installed and in good condition. Mine was both. The first time she approached me, I was watering my front lawn. "Excuse me," she said sharply, "that mailbox is non-compliant. The community standard is white." I blinked. "Karen, there's no color requirement in the HOA document." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "I have a revised draft that says otherwise." That was the beginning. She began leaving passive-aggressive notes in my mailbox, ironic, considering she claimed it was against the rules. "Failure to comply will result in fines," one read. Signed only as Neighborhood Compliance Chair. There was no such position. I ignored her. Then, one Friday morning, I found my mailbox dented. I assumed it was a delivery truck. I replaced it and installed a small motion-activated camera on the post, hidden behind a decorative shrub. 2 days later, I caught her red-handed. At 6:17 a.m., Karen walked straight to my mailbox, looked around, and slammed it with a metal bat. The footage showed her muttering, "Let's see if he replaces it white this time." I was furious, but I didn't act immediately. Instead, I called the HOA president, Mr. Patel, and showed him the video. His jaw dropped. "You realize," he said slowly, "that's not just vandalism. That's federal property tampering." I hadn't even thought of that. The mailbox wasn't just my property. Once mail goes through it, it falls under U.S. federal protection. Karen hadn't just broken a mailbox. She potentially committed a federal crime. The next morning, I made my plan. I wasn't going to yell. I was going to let the law handle it. Karen must have sensed something was up. The day after her early morning destruction spree, she strutted around the cul-de-sac like she hadn't done anything wrong. She waved at me smugly as I checked my dented mailbox. "Oh, did someone hit it again?" she asked, pretending concern. "Yeah," I said evenly, "someone did. Don't worry, I've already reviewed the footage." Her face twitched. Just slightly, but enough for me to see panic flicker behind her sunglasses. That evening, I attended the monthly HOA meeting, which Karen always dominated even though she wasn't an elected member. She had a knack for hijacking discussions, complaining about lawn lengths, porch colors, and even kids' chalk drawings on sidewalks. This time, she didn't expect to be the subject. When the meeting opened for community concerns, I raised my hand. "I'd like to discuss vandalism," I said calmly. "Specifically, vandalism of private and federal property." Mr. Patel looked up. "You mean your mailbox incident?" Karen shifted uncomfortably. "Oh, please, it's probably teenagers." I smiled. "Actually, I have video proof." The entire room went silent as I pulled out my tablet. I hit play. There she was, Karen, bat in hand, swinging like she was in the World Series. Gasps filled the room. Mr. Patel froze. And one of the board members muttered, "Is that Karen?" Karen's face turned red. "That's not me. That's deepfake technology. You people can't believe everything you see." But her voice, her clothes, even her car in the background, everything matched perfectly. Mr. Patel cleared his throat. "Karen, this footage is time-stamped and clear. This is serious. Mailboxes are under federal protection. We have to report this." Karen stood up abruptly. "You can't. It's just a mailbox. This is harassment." I leaned back, calm as ever. Then I'm sure you won't mind if the police confirm that. I called the non-emergency police line right there. Officer Jennings arrived within 20 minutes. Reviewed the footage, and didn't hesitate. That's mail tampering under Title 18. Section 1705, he said. Punishable by fines or up to 3 years in prison. Karen went pale. Prison? For a mailbox? Yes, ma'am, he replied. Federal property means federal law. They didn't arrest her on the spot, but they took an official report. The officer promised to submit the evidence to the postal inspector's office. As Karen stormed out of the clubhouse, everyone in the HOA sat stunned. The woman who'd spent years policing everyone else's fences, flower pots, and garbage bins had just crossed the one line you never cross, federal mail. And the best part? The law wasn't done with her yet. The following week, word spread through Maple Grove faster than wildfire. Neighbors who once feared Karen's complaints now whispered about the video. Even the mail carrier, Mr. Thompson, stopped by to shake my hand. Heard about what you did, he said with a grin. People mess with mailboxes all the time. But it's rare someone actually catches M. You did the right thing reporting it. Karen, however, didn't take it well. She doubled down. She started sending out mass emails, long rants about slander, forgery, and AI manipulation. She claimed I had edited the footage to ruin her reputation. The HOA board, now wary of her antics, officially banned her from attending meetings until the investigation concluded. But she wasn't done. One night, around 9 p.m., my motion camera triggered again. This time she didn't touch the mailbox. She stood across the street, filming my house. When I stepped outside and asked what she was doing, she yelled, "I'm gathering evidence against you," and stormed off. By then, the postal inspector's office had already contacted me. A federal investigator named Agent Flores came by to take my statement. He was polite but serious. "We take these cases very seriously," he explained. "Tampering with mailboxes disrupts federal service and violates several statutes." He assured me they'd verified the footage and confirmed it matched Karen's description. Within a week, Karen received an official summons. The HOA president, still stunned by how far this had escalated, tried to mediate, but the federal wheels were already turning. The U.S. Postal Inspection Service had jurisdiction, and they didn't treat it lightly. Meanwhile, I became a minor local celebrity. Neighbors dropped off coffee, cookies, even thank you notes. Apparently, Karen had been terrorizing residents for years, citing imaginary rules, fining people for non-compliant garden decor, and threatening legal action over fence colors. Everyone had been too intimidated to stand up to her. Until now. When Karen realized the community wasn't backing her anymore, her arrogance started to crumble. She stopped patrolling, stopped emailing, and eventually pulled down her HOA community liaison sign, a title she'd invented herself. Still, I didn't gloat. I just replaced my mailbox again, the same black steel model. This time with a sturdier post and a little plaque that read, "Property protected under federal law." And every morning, when I went out to get the mail, I smiled at it. Because that mailbox wasn't just metal and paint. It was a reminder that even the loudest bully can't stand against the truth. But justice wasn't finished with Karen yet. 2 months later, the case reached its peak. The HOA community room transformed into a circus of whispers as Karen's federal hearing was announced. It wasn't a criminal trial, more of an administrative proceeding. But the consequences could still be serious. The U.S. Postal Inspection Service had filed formal charges for destruction and tampering with federal property. Karen arrived looking nothing like her usual commanding self. No clipboard, no sunglasses, no smug grin, just a wrinkled beige blouse and a trembling lip. She refused to look at me as we waited for the inspector to read the findings. Agent Flores began, "Video evidence confirms the accused, Miss Karen Douglas, Willfully destroyed a functioning residential mailbox with intent to interfere with federal mail service. This constitutes a violation under Title 18. U.S. Code Section 1705. He paused. Given the cooperation of the reporting party and lack of prior offenses, the Inspector General recommends a fine, restitution for damages, and mandatory community service in lieu of imprisonment. Karen gasped. Community service? For a mailbox? Floris's tone didn't waver. For federal property, ma'am. The HOA board members watched in stunned silence. Mr. Patel finally spoke. Karen, do you have anything to say for yourself? She turned toward me, eyes blazing. You set me up. You've humiliated me in front of everyone. I stayed calm. You humiliated yourself, Karen. I just pressed record. That broke her composure completely. She burst into tears, muttering that she just wanted the neighborhood to look nice. But no one rushed to comfort her. Not after years of her petty tyrannies. In the end, she was fined $3,200, covering my mailbox, legal fees, and an HOA penalty. She was also ordered to perform 120 hours of community service, ironically under city property maintenance, painting fences and cleaning graffiti. The HOA formally expelled her from any future participation in management or committees. When the ruling was final, Karen moved out within a month. The for sale sign on her lawn felt like the neighborhood's first breath of peace in years. People threw an impromptu block party that weekend. Someone brought cupcakes shaped like little mailboxes. Even the mail carrier joined in, joking. Guess we finally delivered some justice. As I looked around at my laughing neighbors, I realized the whole ordeal had done something unexpected. It united us. For years, Karen ruled by fear, but one act of accountability turned that around. Now, every time I check my mail, I think of how small moments, a camera, a video, a mailbox, can stand for something bigger: respect, fairness, and community. And that's how one HOA Karen learned the hard way: you don't mess with federal property.